What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to have a look at Starter Deck 7 from the One Piece TCG. It is coming out very shortly, it's coming out in 3 weeks' time. It is a yellow starter deck that is introducing yellow into the One Piece TCG, and one thing that's pretty important today is that they've gone and added the scans to the official English website, which is lovely for me because it means I can stop using Japanese scans, start using English scans. That's lovely. I'm not intending to go through this deck in great detail. We did that when it came out in Japan. That would just be repeating myself. I don't really feel the need to do that. What we do need to do, however, is have a look at the official FAQ for Starter Deck 7, because quite frankly, if you're going to play the game, you need to know the rules. And with a new starter deck, especially with a new colour, it is more important than ever that we have a good old look and make sure that we know exactly what the rules are and how to follow them. And of course, you know the deal by now. The better you get at following these rules, the easier it gets in the future. So the leader, Charlotte Linlin, has got Don X2. When attacking, you may add a card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand. And if you have 2 or fewer life, add up to 1 card from your hand to your top of your life. Well, if I have 3 life cards, can I use this to add a card from the top or bottom of my life to my hand, and then add a card from my hand to the top of my life? And the answer is yes. Because first you add a card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand, and then if you have 2 or fewer life, you have a look. Well, you've got 3, you take 1, you have a look, you've got 2, good news, you're good to go. Can I activate this if I have 4 or more life cards? Yes, absolutely. However, you add a card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand, and then you don't have 2 or fewer life cards, therefore nothing happens in the second part. But yes, and you will want to do this sometimes because some yellow skills rely on you having fewer life than your opponent or a certain amount of life. So this is one of those skills that will get you down to the level of life you want, nice and quickly. That's kind of the play. Now, finishing off with Charlotte Linlin, what if I have 0 life cards? No, absolutely not. Because you have to do both in order. First, you can add a card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand, but there is no life, so you can't do that. Because you can't do that, you don't get to add a life. Somebody you play against playing Charlotte Linlin is going to try and argue that you can do this to basically get a life when you've got no life. Doesn't work, ladies and gentlemen. Does not work. Now, moving over to the secret rare Charlotte Linlin here, we've got on play, your opponent chooses one of these 2 things. Either trash a card from the top of your opponent's life, or add a card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards. If I activate this, and my opponent chooses trash 1 card from the top of your opponent's life, which player's life card is trashed? The card at the top of the life of the player who did not activate this on-play effect is trashed. Obviously. Because otherwise this would be one of the worst cards ever. It would be terrible and nobody would play it. Obviously, you're making your opponent choose between them losing a life and you gaining a life. If you played a 7-cost card and they got to either take 1 of your life or add 1, that would be bad. The second ruling here is, of course, the same. If I activate this and my opponent chooses add a card from the top of your deck to the top of your life, which player adds a card? Well, obviously, the card is added to the life of the person who activated the skill, i.e., you play this, you get the life. Otherwise, this would be one of the worst cards, not just in One Piece, but in the history of trading card games as a whole. It would be that bad, ladies and gentlemen. It would be that bad. So, let's say I activate this when my opponent has 0 life. Can my opponent choose to trash 1 of their life cards rather than give me 1? Yes. And as a side note, they definitely should. If your opponent's got no life, you play Charlotte Linlin and they'll go, well, I'll trash 1 of my life. And then, of course, nothing will happen. They have no life to trash. But that's all down to kind of playing the game. Like, if you've got 1 life card left and you know your opponent's going to play a Charlotte Linlin in the near future, you're going to be far less worried about losing that life in some other way because you're either going to lose it now or lose it when Charlotte Linlin comes down, so that is going to give you a few more options to play around with. So these are two big cards in yellow, the Charlotte Linlin Leader and the Charlotte Linlin Super Rare. You need to bear these in mind. These are rulings we've just gone through for these two cards, which will literally change games if they go wrong. That is very important. You know, somebody using the Leader to give themselves a life card when they had 0, that could well win them the game. Somebody using Charlotte Linlin as the worst card ever is going to lose the game. This is very important. Now, one of the cards you're going to want to play with Charlotte Linlin is Zeus. Activate main, you may rest this character to give one of your Charlotte Linlin cards banish. Well, what does it mean? Does it mean the leader? Does it mean the character? It means anyone. Again, this is one of those ones where we can look at just the wording on the card and it all becomes kind of clear. If it said character, you would have to choose a character. If it said leader, you'd have to choose the leader. But what it actually says here is card, therefore, that's what it means. And then we've got a ruling about Prometheus, but when I tell you what Prometheus does, you're probably going to guess what the ruling is and what the result is. Prometheus, activate main, you may rest this character to give one of your Charlotte Linlin cards double attack during this turn. Well, the ruling here, the question here very obviously is, can I use this on leader or character or either? And the answer is, because it says card, not character or leader, then it is either your leader or your character. Either is fine. Now, Soul Pocus is a very important card we've got here. It's a 5-cost event card. And your opponent chooses one of the following things. And as soon as I start this, you're going to see where we're going. Either trash a card from the top of your opponent's life, or add a card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards. As a trigger, incidentally, it does the same thing, but you don't have to pay the 5 cost, which is clearly awesome. And basically, the first 3 rulings here are going to be exactly as the same as they were on the Charlotte Linlin Leader. Because it's the same. This is Charlotte Linlin Leader skill as an event card. So, who trashes their life if the life is chosen to be trashed? The player who didn't play the card, i.e. if I'm Charlotte Linlin, my opponent. If your opponent chooses gain life, who gains the life? The person who played the card, Charlotte Linlin. And if my opponent has 0 cards in their life, and they choose to trash a card from their life, is that a legal move? Absolutely it is. Nothing will happen, because they have no cards to trash, but they are absolutely allowed to make that choice. But there is one other ruling here. I have 1 life and take 2 damage from my opponent's double attack. This is the life card I check for the first damage and I activate its trigger. In this case, does adding 1 card to my life occur before or after processing double attack? I.e., they're doing 2 damage, they do 1 damage, I have no life. But the life card revealed is this. A life goes back. Does it stay or does it immediately get removed as a second damage from double attack? It's the bad one. You activate the trigger before the second damage. A card is added to your life. Then the second damage comes in. Although it wouldn't have taken a damage because there was no damage to take, it now does because there is a life card there. Basically, when you're taking damage, you take it one at a time, and you resolve the triggers before going on to the next damage. Be a great little hack, but no, if you've got 1 life remaining and your opponent uses double attack and this comes out, you're not gaining a cheeky extra life, your opponent will get rid of it. And finally, Queen Mama Chanter, the 2-cost stage card. Activate main, you may rest this stage and add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand. Add up to 1 of your characters with a cost of 3 to the top of the owner's life cards, face up. Which is lovely. If I use this and add 1 of my life cards to my hand, can I choose not to add 1 of my characters with a cost of 3 to my life? Yes. It is an optional thing, even if you have one you can choose. Which is lovely, because of course you don't always want to get rid of one of your characters, and as previously mentioned, sometimes you are going to want to reduce your life to activate a particular skill. this helps you to do so. Can I use this activate main to add my character with a cost of 2 or less to my life cards? No, because that's not what the card says. The card says add up to one of your characters with a cost of 3 to the top of the owner's life cards face up. Please tell me I didn't accidentally read it as 3 or less a minute ago. Just to be perfectly clear, it is a card of exactly 3, and we see this coming out in some other yellow skills as well. It does have to be exactly 3. It doesn't work if it's 1 or 2 or 0. It has to be exactly 3. That is very, very important. There we go. And then finally, can I use this to add a character card from my hand to my life cards? And the answer is no, because when cards refer to characters, they are referring to characters on the field. This was established nice and early, but it's a rule not everybody might be aware of. Cards that refer to characters are referring specifically to characters that are currently on the field, and if they're in your hand, they're not on the field. Incidentally, this would be a way better card if you could put characters from your hand down. There's probably a good reason you can't. Right, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you need to know. Now you are well and truly armed with all the rules you need for this starter deck, and now it's over to you guys. Tell me which of these cards you're excited about. Tell me which of these rules make sense. Tell me if any confuse you. Ask any questions you've got. Go nuts in the comment section. But be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and card games and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross and you've been watching Wasi Plays.